It was pouring rain on a lonely stretch of highway just outside Atlanta. The kind of storm that makes you grip the steering wheel tighter and pray your tires hold. But for Marcus Reed, they didn't. He was soaked to the bone, standing beside his rusted pickup, hands covered in grease, staring at the flashing hazard lights of a stranded luxury car ahead. He almost drove past until he saw her, a young woman, maybe late 20s, dressed in a sleek business suit, heels sinking into the mud, holding an umbrella that did little against the pounding rain. Her phone light flickered helplessly. That's when Marcus sighed and pulled over. He didn't know it then, but this small act of kindness was about to change everything. "Need some help?" he shouted over the rain. The woman flinched, startled, then nodded quickly. "I've been here for an hour," she said, voice shaking. "I tried calling roadside assistance, but no one's come." Marcus smiled, despite the thunder rumbling above. "No worries, ma'am. I'll take care of it." He didn't ask for money, didn't even give his name. Just crouched in the mud, loosening lug nuts and changing her tire while the rain hammered his back. When he was done, she offered him $100. Marcus shook his head. "Just glad you're safe," he said. She hesitated, then insisted. "At least take this," she said, pressing the bill into his hand. He thanked her politely, gave a nod, and drove off into the night, unaware that this single encounter had been caught on camera. The next morning, that video would make him famous and nearly destroy his life, because what Marcus didn't know was that the woman he helped wasn't just anyone. Her name was Lydia Kane, the CEO of a billion-dollar tech company, a woman known for her ruthless efficiency and cold demeanor. To her, people like Marcus, mechanics, janitors, delivery drivers, were invisible, but something about that night stayed with her. The way he refused her money, the quiet dignity in his voice. It haunted her. So Lydia did something she'd never done before. She looked him up, and what she found stunned her. Marcus Reed, age 33, former soldier, 2 tours overseas. Now working 2 jobs, mechanic by day, security guard by night, just to care for his mother, who was battling stage for cancer. No family, no fame, no fortune. Just grit, integrity, and a heart that refused to harden. Lydia couldn't explain it, but she felt compelled to repay the kindness. So, a week later, she sent a letter to the auto shop where Marcus worked. A simple message: "Meet me at the glass tower, 5 p.m. Marcus thought it was a prank. Still, curiosity got the better of him. When he arrived, drenched again, this time from nerves, the receptionist ushered him into a massive boardroom overlooking the city skyline. And there she was, Lydia Kane, the woman from the highway. "Marcus," she said softly, "do you remember me?" He nodded, uneasy. "Yes, ma'am." The flat tire. She smiled faintly. "You could have kept driving that night, but you didn't. You helped me when you didn't have to." Marcus shrugged. Wasn't a big deal. But to Lydia, it was. She explained that his act of kindness had gone viral. The dash cam footage from her car had been uploaded by her assistant, and millions of people had watched the video of a mechanic helping a stranger in the rain. He'd become an online hero overnight. Marcus was stunned. He hadn't even known he was being filmed. But then Lydia leaned forward. "Marcus, I want to offer you a position at my company. Head of fleet maintenance. Full benefits. Double what you're making now." It sounded too good to be true. Marcus hesitated. "Why me?" he asked. "There are better mechanics out there." Lydia's smile faded. "Because character can't be taught. You earned this, Marcus." For the first time in years, he felt seen. But just as Marcus's life began to change, something darker started brewing beneath the surface. Because while the world saw a viral hero, someone else saw a threat. 2 weeks into his new job, Marcus began noticing strange things. His tools went missing. Security logs were altered. And one night, he overheard 2 executives whispering about covering up the numbers. He didn't think much of it until he stumbled on a hidden folder on the company network. Documents, financial reports, evidence that millions were being funneled into offshore accounts under fake names. And one of those names was Lydia Kane's. Marcus froze. Could the woman who'd changed his life be hiding something? He didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was right there. The deeper he dug, the clearer it became. Someone was embezzling money and framing someone else for it. Then came the real shock. His name was on one of the fake invoices. Someone inside the company was setting Marcus up. The underdog who'd come from nothing was about to be crushed by the very system that had praised him. He went to Lydia immediately, showed her what he found. But instead of shock or anger, her expression turned cold. "Marcus," she said, her tone icy, "you shouldn't be looking at files that aren't yours." He froze. "Lydia, what's going on?" She stood, walked toward the window, and said quietly, "Sometimes good people get caught in bad stories." Marcus's stomach turned. "Are you saying you're behind this?" But Lydia didn't answer. Instead, she handed him a folder. Inside was a contract, termination of employment, effective immediately. His hands trembled. "Why are you doing this?" She looked at him, her eyes unreadable. "Because you saw too much." Security escorted him out that night. The rain poured again, just like the night they met. He stood by his old pickup, heart pounding, watching the glass tower fade into the storm. He had no job, no savings, no proof of his innocence. The internet had already turned against him, calling him a fraud. Everything he built, his reputation, his dignity, was gone. But as lightning split the sky, Marcus made a silent vow. He wasn't going down without a fight. The next morning, he drove back to the tower, waited in the parking lot until Lydia arrived. When she stepped out of her car, their eyes met. "You made a mistake," he said calmly. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "And what mistake is that?" He pulled out a small USB drive. "Forgetting who taught you what integrity looks like." Lydia's expression shifted, just for a second, from calm to fear, because Marcus wasn't bluffing. He had something she didn't know he'd saved. Hidden on that drive was a piece of footage from a night she tried to erase, the same night she set him up. And as thunder rolled in the distance, Marcus whispered, "I'm not done yet." The camera pans out, rain falling, lightning flashing, as Lydia's calm mask finally breaks. Fade to black. The rain hadn't stopped since that night. It poured over the city like a cleansing storm, or maybe a warning. Marcus sat in his truck, the small USB drive glinting under the dashboard light. Everything he'd worked for had been stripped away. His name dragged through headlines. Viral hero turns corporate thief. It was all Lydia Kane's doing. And yet, he couldn't shake the memory of the woman he'd helped on that dark road. The one who'd smiled at him like he mattered. What happened to her? He played the footage again. The hidden clip he'd found in a discarded server backup. It showed two executives in the company parking lot at midnight. Lydia's name came up twice, but then something else caught his eye. One of the men mentioned the Avalon project. Marcus froze. That name had shown up in the offshore documents. But there was more, a voice, faint but clear. Lydia's. "Make sure he takes a fall," she said. "He's perfect for it." Marcus's stomach turned. There was proof that Lydia had framed him, but exposing her wouldn't be easy. She had lawyers, money, power. He had a truck, a hard drive, and the truth. Still, Marcus had learned one thing in the Army. When you're cornered, you don't run. You fight smart. He reached out to the only person he trusted, Detective Carla Ruiz, an old friend from a security job. She once told him, "If you ever get in too deep, call me." Now he was drowning. When she answered, her tone was wary. "Marcus, you know the kind of enemies you're making?" He sighed. "Yeah, the kind that don't lose." An hour later, they met in a diner off the highway. Marcus slid the USB across the table. Carla plugged it in, her brow furrowing as she watched the footage. "If this is real," she said quietly, "she's orchestrating a full-scale fraud operation." Marcus nodded. "And I'm the scapegoat." Carla leaned back. "Then we'll flip the story. But we'll need more than video. We need bank records, witness statements, something public." Marcus exhaled slowly. "I can get those." But Lydia Kane wasn't sitting idle. The same night Marcus met Carla, Lydia was in her penthouse office, staring at the storm outside. Her assistant, visibly nervous, spoke softly. "Ma'am, there's chatter online. People are saying Marcus Reed might have proof." Lydia didn't turn around. "He's bluffing," but her voice wavered. Because deep down, Lydia knew Marcus wasn't the kind of man to lie. That night, she called someone. "It's time," she said. "Make sure he doesn't talk." The next day, Marcus's truck was vandalized, his tires slashed. His mother's hospital room received an anonymous call warning her to tell her son to stop digging. Marcus's jaw tightened. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about justice. He and Carla spent the next week gathering data, tracing wire transfers, cross-checking offshore accounts, linking signatures. Every lead pointed back to Lydia. She'd been funneling millions through fake subsidiaries while publicly preaching corporate transparency. The irony stung, but the closer they got, the more dangerous it became. One night, while Marcus worked in his garage, a black SUV stopped outside. No headlights, no plates. A figure stepped out, tall, dressed in black. Marcus grabbed his phone, ready to record, but before he could, a bullet shattered the window. He dove for cover as the SUV sped off into the rain. The message was clear: back off. He didn't. Instead, Marcus went on the offensive. He leaked the first piece of evidence to a small independent journalist, someone Lydia's lawyers couldn't silence. Within 24 hours, social media was on fire. Hashtags, threads, people questioning the truth behind the viral hero gone bad narrative. Lydia watched the chaos unfold from her office, her calm demeanor cracking. "Shut it down," she barked. Her PR team scrambled. Her lawyers flooded the journalist's inbox with cease and desists. But the story had already spread too far. Then came the breaking point. Detective Ruiz called Marcus one evening. "We've got a warrant," she said. "And Marcus, we found something in Lydia's private archive." Marcus drove through the storm again, heart pounding. In the precinct conference room, Carla pulled up a folder. Inside were photos, time-stamped images of offshore wire confirmations, encrypted under Lydia's credentials. But there was one image that froze Marcus in place. It was from the night of the rainstorm, a security still from the company's lobby cameras. It showed Lydia meeting with the same two men who framed him, hours before she broke down on that lonely road. The realization hit him like a punch. She hadn't been stranded by accident. The flat tire was staged. She'd known who he was before he ever stopped. She'd chosen him, used him, all of it. The kindness, the job offer, the betrayal was part of something bigger. Marcus's voice cracked. She planned it from the start. Carla nodded grimly. And whatever she's hiding, it's worse than money laundering. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. Every memory replayed like a cruel movie. The rain, her soft smile, the gratitude in her eyes. It was all a lie. But now, he had something she didn't. Her weakness, the truth. By morning, Marcus had a plan. He arranged a live interview with the same journalist who'd broken the first story. It would air at 7 p.m., just enough time for Lydia to panic. And she did, at exactly 6:42 p.m., as Marcus waited backstage. Lydia herself showed up. No security, no entourage, just her, drenched, desperate, and angry. "Marcus," she hissed, stepping close. "You don't understand what you're doing." He stared at her. "No, Lydia, you don't." She laughed bitterly. "You think you're a hero? You're playing a game you can't win. People like you don't beat people like me." Marcus leaned in, voice low and steady. "Maybe not, but people like you always underestimate people like me." The producer called for air. Cameras rolled. Lights flared. Lydia froze, realizing the mic on Marcus's lapel was live. He looked into the camera and said, "I want to tell you about the night I stopped to help a woman in the rain." Lydia's eyes widened, because in that moment she understood. The entire world was about to hear the truth. And then, before Marcus had continued, the power cut out. The studio went black. The broadcast died. Marcus turned toward Lydia. Her face lit only by the flicker of a red emergency light. She smiled cold. Victorious. The studio went dark. You really rain outside, thunder against glass. Fade. Marcus stood frozen in the emergency light's dull glow. Lydia Kane's calm smirk sent a chill through him. The power outage wasn't an accident. She had planned this too. You can't stop the truth, Marcus whispered. Lydia tilted her head, voice low. I already have. But she was wrong, because while the broadcast had gone dark, the microphones hadn't. The emergency system was still live. Every word she said was being recorded, streamed directly to the backup feed online. Millions were still listening. Outside, phones buzzed, comments exploded. Is this real? Did she just confess? The audience thought it was part of the show. It wasn't. It was real, raw. The mask slipping off a woman who would build her empire on lies. Marcus took a step closer, his eyes steady. You used me, he said quietly. You thought kindness made me weak. Lydia's smirk faltered. It does. Marcus shook his head. No, it makes me unstoppable. Security burst through the studio doors, flashlights slicing through the darkness. Detective Carla Ruiz was at the front. Hands where I can see them, she shouted. Lydia's calm evaporated. You can't arrest me, she snapped. You have no proof. Carla raised an eyebrow. We have plenty. And thanks to your little speech, we have a confession too. Lydia turned to Marcus, eyes wide with disbelief. You set me up. Marcus didn't smile. No, you set yourself up the moment you thought you were untouchable. The officers cuffed her as she protested, her voice echoing through the dark studio. You don't know who I am. I am this company. Carla leaned in. Not anymore. As Lydia was let out into the rain, the power finally flickered back on. The lights returned, cameras rebooted, and the entire world saw the aftermath. Marcus Reed standing in the middle of the chaos, soaked, exhausted, but finally free. The comment section erupted. He was innocent all along. Justice served. The mechanic took down the sill. But the story wasn't over yet. 2 weeks later, Marcus sat quietly outside the hospital, visiting his mother. The news had been relentless. Corporate queen indicted for fraud, the viral mechanic who exposed $1 billion crime. Offers poured in, interviews, book deals, even a documentary. But Marcus turned them all down. He didn't want fame. He wanted peace. His mother smiled weakly from her hospital bed. You did it, baby, she whispered. You showed them what kind of man you are. Marcus held her hand. I just told the truth. But truth has consequences. That night, Marcus received an envelope slipped under his door. No return address. Inside, a flash drive. He plugged it into his laptop. The screen blinked, and a video started playing. Grainy footage. A shadowed figure in a dim office. Lydia Kane, speaking into a phone from her prison cell. I warned him, she said coldly, but he has no idea what he started. The Avalon Project doesn't die with me. Marcus's heart stopped. The camera zoomed slightly, showing someone sitting across from her, a man in a tailored suit. He turned his face toward the lens just before the video cut to black. Marcus froze. It was one of Lydia's executives, the one who had vanished after her arrest. Then a message appeared on screen. She wasn't the only one watching. Marcus sat back, his pulse hammering in his chest. The screen went dark. The rain outside started again, softer this time, but steady, like a warning. He closed his laptop and whispered to himself, so it's not over. The next morning, he met Detective Ruiz at a cafe. She looked uneasy. We traced that video. It came from a secure government server. Someone wiped the logs. Marcus frowned. You think they're still running whatever Avalon is? She nodded slowly. And they know you have the file. Marcus glanced out the window. A black sedan idled across the street. Same make, same model as before. The man inside wore sunglasses, watching him. Carla reached for a badge. Stay low, Marcus. Until we figure out who they are, you're not safe. But Marcus wasn't afraid anymore. No, he said quietly. If they want to finish this, I'll be ready. He stood, raincoat draped over his arm, eyes fixed on the storm outside. The same rain that started it all. The same rain that witnessed every twist, every lie, every truth. As he walked out into the downpour, the camera slowly pulled back, capturing the reflection of the sedan's headlights in the puddle. A faint voice came through a radio inside the car. Target confirmed. Proceed with Phase 2. Thunder rolled. Lightning flashed. Marcus disappeared into the night. And somewhere, deep in a locked cell, Lydia Kane smiled. Let's see how kind he is when the next storm hits. Kindness can change a world, but it can also expose its darkest corners.